And hello, everybody. Welcome to Presence. I am Doug King, and I am excited and very pleased to be joined today by Dr. Sherry Kling. Sherry, welcome.
Hello, hello. Great to be here, Doug.
Some of you may remember, I know some of you do, because we got several comments on a song that we posted on our website by Sherry, one of her many talents. I'm going to read her bio in a minute. Which will explain why she probably never has time to watch TV. But she is a singer, songwriter, plays guitar, and we put one of her songs on our website some time ago. I Am Human, and then many of us have gotten to know Sherry. And now you know how things come back around in life, and we go different ways, and then we meet again.
Yeah.
I got a call from Sherry, who has now been appointed, and I want to read her bio here, but she has now been appointed as the Director of Process and Faith, which is part of the Center for Process Studies at the Claremont School of Theology out in California, from whence Sherry did get her doctorate, her PhD. And Sherry did that study and has a book that was produced on her PhD work that combines an approach from Carl Jung and Jungian psychology with Alfred North Whitehead and Whitehead philosophy, which actually then is going to bring us all the way around into process theology. So we'll talk about that just briefly. But before we get started, I do want to tell you that in addition to that, Sherry is the director of the John Cobb Legacy Fund, which is the Cobb Institute is involved with ecological civilization, which I love. I love that movement.
Yeah.
She's founder of Deep Rhythm and creator of Transforming Women. The works that she's written and are included in have to do with a process spirituality, open and relational leadership, a book called Finding Home, Rural Reflections on the Journey to Wholeness. And she was also a contributor in the book, Women Experiencing Faith. So, Sherry, welcome. And I'm very excited because we're announcing a course that you and I are going to get to do together.
Yes.
So maybe you can tell people kind of how you wound into process and faith, and then maybe what was behind your thinking for us doing something together. We can kind of go from there, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds good, Doug. Well, thanks so much for hosting me on this podcast and interview today. I really appreciate it. So I, just my background in general, I grew up in New Jersey and then went to Purdue and got a degree in communication and then moved to the Atlanta area. And unfortunately, I lived in Georgia for many years. If I had known about you while I was living in Georgia, we might actually have met face to face prior to now just having Zoom meetings. But anyway, in Georgia, I had a long career in marketing and communications, mostly in the software industry. And then, I had been through a lot of downsizings in that industry. It's very volatile. And so I then stepped out into a career as a singer and songwriter and recording artist and did that for about 6 years. And it was just, it's just difficult to make your way in the world as an artist. And so I was had really for many, many years been drawn toward theological study, but not to the path of ordination. And so I never did anything about that. But then at that point, I realized I could go on the academic track, and that really interested me. So first, I went to the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. I grew up Lutheran. And I got a Master of Arts in Theological Studies there, and I did an emphasis in religion and science, which I really loved a lot. And a good part of that there, they had a lot of great coursework around evolution and ecology and the evolutionary aspect of the cosmos, as a whole.
Yes, yeah.
And while I was there, I took a class at McCormick Seminary, which is a Presbyterian seminary next door, on process theology. And I had first heard about process theology in a book by a man named Christian de Quincey, who was a fellow with the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And his book was called Radical Nature. And in that book, he talked about consciousness going all the way down, like to everything
Yeah.
in existence.
Yeah.
Now, and I was just really intrigued by that perspective. And he pointed to Whitehead and process theology. Now, as I've since learned, Whitehead wouldn't exactly say that consciousness itself goes all the way down. He would say experience goes all the way down, or some degree of interiority, subjective experience goes all the way down. But he wouldn't say consciousness. But anyway, that's another whole nother topic. But so when I had the opportunity to take a course with Anna Case Winters at McCormick, I did. And while I was in that course, I saw real resonances between the way that John Cobb, who's a leading process theologian, and David Ray Griffin, another one, in their introductory book, the way that they wrote about Christ as creative transformation, to me sounded very much like the way Jung talks about individuation. And so I then started to research connections and resonances between those two schools of thought, and came upon a book called Archetypal Process that David Ray Griffin edited, that kind of combined the essays by process thinkers and Jungians. And that set me on this whole course of life that I've been on ever since. Yeah, and it was, so then that led me to find Claremont School of Theology and connect there with Philip Clayton, who's a wonderful theologian with a strong expertise in religion and science and emergence and all of those things as well. And so I went to Claremont and got my PhD. And then this year, meanwhile, I had been in Tennessee for a while, working at a university there as an administrator in the School of Theology. But I ended up in a situation where I lost that job. There was some changes, restructuring that happened and whatever, for various reasons. And anyway, I moved to Florida, where I am now, and my parents live here, so I'm near to them, which is wonderful. And recently this year, in the spring, got these two positions, working as the director of process and faith, and also director of the John Cobb Legacy Fund. So I'll just say a brief thing about the Legacy Fund. It's a planned giving program that was started by these three process-related charities. So the Center for Process Studies, the Cobb Institute, which is still in Claremont, California, and the Institute for Ecological Civilization, to basically further the work that John Cobb started. He's been working in these areas of philosophy, theology, and also this ecological area. He wrote a book in 1972 called Is It Too Late? About our situation ecologically.
And for people who don't know this, John Cobb is like 97 years old.
Yeah.
And is still going strong.
Yeah, he's still active. He's very involved in a whole movement. There's a project out of the Center for Process Studies of working with China in their postmodern development to move toward an ecological civilization. China, in many ways, is well ahead of anyone else in terms of making their policy moving toward an ecological civilization, which the idea there is basically having a civilization that supports the flourishing of all beings, of all people and planet, and making decisions around policy and economics and everything else that support all beings of the whole planet. So, so I became, that's one of my jobs with the John Cobb Legacy Fund. But then my other job is as director of process and faith. And as you mentioned, process and faith is a program within the Center for Process Studies at the Claremont School of Theology. And Process and Faith is a multi-faith network for relational spirituality and the common good. So Process and Faith began initially as a program to to spread process theology through the Christian church and to be a resource center for Christian churches who were interested in process theology. But now it's been kind of relaunched about a year ago to be a multi-faith network, and to, it uses the 19 paths identified by the Harvard Pluralism Project. So, everything from Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Taoism, pagan, interspiritual, even humanist paths. So all of those paths are represented, and membership is free. So people can go to processandfaith.org and sign up to be a member. And then we're building now these path groups so that people can meet together or create resources together for their own path, as well as having interfaith discussions and other educational opportunities, different types of educational offerings for people interested in spirituality and faith. And so when I took this position, I thought of you immediately, Doug, because I've been so engaged in your work and the work of presence, and find it to be such a life-giving approach to the biblical narrative and to spirituality, that I wanted the process and faith community to have the opportunity to learn about this.
And that's fantastic, because what we want to do is to, through this course, also make the presence audience aware of what is process theology, and the number of theologians that come from process theology, that are everything from pastors that are working right now throughout the world, actually, and then also those that are theologians or have worked or currently work in seminaries, they're book authors. But process theology is becoming very much, in my mind, the great possibility for the future in terms of the biblical narrative. And I say that because obviously the course that we're doing is going to come from the episodes and the podcasts and the work that I've done in terms of the spiral dynamics and the biblical narrative. And that is also a developmental approach to the story, that this is a story that is developmental in nature, that the human race has been growing in understanding ever since.
Yeah.
And it helps us kind of stop and take a look back to kind of get a feel for where things are right now, and the different page numbers, and where people locate themselves. And then also that is allowing us to say, well, where might things be going? What might be coming next to solve the challenges that still exist? Even though we've come to this place in history, we still see all these things out there that are concerned. So you and I and Process and people in Integral share a passion for that approach.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. And so tell a little bit about the course, as far as how it's structured, a number of episodes, what people can do, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the course, we're calling it The Biblical Narrative and Universal God Identity, Integral Theology and Process Approaches. So it's going to be, I think, a great series of sessions. It'll be 6 sessions. We'll be meeting online, as is so common these days, post-COVID. Who does anything in person anymore? But, some of us can and some of us will. But this is a great way for people from all over the world, really, to be able to participate. So we're offering 6 sessions. It starts Tuesday, September 13th. So that's just not far away, and goes through October 18th. And the sessions will happen live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We've got a lot of people involved in Process and Faith on the West Coast because of, Claremont and the School of Theology there and the Center for Process Studies. So 4:30 p.m. Pacific for them. But, it'll be, we'll meet on Zoom. The sessions will all be recorded. We have a real nice learning platform that the course will be operated on. So we'll have a discussion board there. And so people can, if they can't participate live, they can watch the recording and then
Yeah.
participate in discussion via the discussion board. So that's
Yes.
going to be, a really nice resource. So yeah, and the course is a pay what you can. I mean, we kind of make a suggestion as to, what this kind of course might generally, be worth, but people can, we don't want to turn anyone away who can't
Right.
pay. So we want people to just come, support their work if they can. And like I said, 6 sessions and looking at how the biblical narrative moves toward universal God identity, and then how that connects with process thought and process theology.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And again, since this is going out to our presence crowd, I know that you and folks in process have already put it up on the website
Yeah.
and have already got the information out there. And that's the link, by the way, that we've put in our newsletter that you all have received, and why you're watching this video, because both links are in there. But the
Yeah,
great thing
let me
is
just
this.
say real quick, I think it's I think the link direct to the course itself would be process and faith. So process and then and processandfaith.org/integral hyphen process, I believe will
Yes,
get you there.
that's it. Yeah, and we put the link, we embedded it in the newsletter for everybody. So
Yeah.
you can go to that and click right on. So really, what we've been trying to do at Presence is the same thing that Sherry has been trying to do. She and I are kindred spirits in the fact that we've been looking out at the landscape of the evolution of religion, spirituality, and the discussions that are going on. And it's been apparent to both of us that there's an awareness now of a bigger and bigger God when it comes to the God of unity, and the God that, as we talk about all the time, is all in all and
Yeah.
not all in some. And so, because of this, I think, if nothing else, yes, you may say, well, I know I've seen a lot of the podcasts you've done on spiral dynamics, but to go into the interactive part of the recording technology that Process has, and to be able to see what questions other people are coming in with, and maybe to even engage yourself in some of these discussions. What we're trying to do now at Presence is to expand these discussions into more and more areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be coming back soon, a little bit later this fall, to talk about things that are happening in the evolutionary leaders movement, which I haven't gone into great detail about, but I'll be doing that. Sherry's well aware of that movement too, because again, everything is coming together, and that's why they say that we're now in an era of convergence,
Yeah.
that we're seeing this. So,
And
very,
Doug, I just want to say too, for a long time now, I've been saying that when scientists talk about the cosmos, both at the largest scale and at the smallest scale, at the quantum level and at the largest scale, they sound more and more like mystics every day.
yeah, exactly,
You know?
exactly, and that's very exciting, because now we have more and more people from within science itself who are saying that the old models are now being overturned. I love. There's one physicist that I'm having conversations with from the UK, and she says that the new findings in the last decade in the field of quantum science are showing over and over more and more evidence that this universe cannot be a happy accident.
Oh, wow.
And I love that terminology. She's saying, as a physicist, I cannot mathematically and otherwise look at the quantum field and see the way this universe has evolved and how it operates today, and look someone in the eye and tell them it's a happy accident. So
Yeah.
more conversations are absolutely going to be coming down the road for all of that.
Yeah. And David Griffin, who I mentioned earlier, he's talked a lot about how this fine tuning for life and for, you know, the purposes that have emerged in this in our universe. And he's, you know, it's kind of crazy the way some scientists want to speculate that there's this multiverse, these endless number of universes, in order for them to not show any kind of purpose or purposefulness in this
Yeah.
cosmos. To
Yeah.
avoid that at all costs, they'd
Yeah.
rather speculate that there's a billion universes, all of which are parallel, and, you know, have a billion Sherry Klings and a billion Doug Kings in them, all living out different possibilities, so that this one could be an accident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as many other physicists are picking up on what he's saying, they're saying the results now that we're seeing in the nature of nature is not really supporting. It's taking us away from that multiverse outcome that what someone threw out initially. You know, the thing about science is they're going to radically test every single proposal and theory that there is out there. And that's
Yeah.
really actually to our advantage if you really see and observe and believe, have faith, etc., that everything is God.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know that science is God, and that therefore we are interpreting this external data, if you will, that is in the form of galaxies and stars and planets, and we're seeing our own nature mirrored in the way those things operate. And so we'll be talking more about that. The other thing that I'm going to say too, just to hopefully put you in a corner, is that I really want to do something with Carl Jung, his psychology.
Yeah.
Sherry has you got great expertise there. And so I'm going to say right now that at some point here in the near future, we will do a presence course where we'll have Sherry come in and we'll talk about that in light of the narrative, because here we have psychology, philosophy, theology.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things again are converging, and we're seeing the way God is manifesting
Yeah.
in all aspects of our life. So I definitely want to take advantage of your expertise on that too.
Yeah, I would love that, Doug.
All right, well, that's our announcement. You've got the thing. You can contact me, or you can go to info@presence.tv if you have any questions about anything. We look forward to seeing you online if you can join us for these sessions. If not, again, you can watch them whenever it works into your schedule, and still participate in the discussion. But at this point, I just really excited that we're again making new contacts with a whole big universe called process theology. So Sherry, thanks for this invitation for us to work with you at Process and Faith. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Me too, Doug, and thanks for being willing to do it. And I so look forward. I think it's going to be a really great experience.
All right, guys. Hopefully we'll see you there. We'll see you next time.
Sounds
Bye-bye.
good. Bye.